So,
I know that Peggy's not coming.
Peggy's not coming, right? So he says that Jude or Sherry. So, lots been happening.
The meeting is recorded now.
Nick Monday, they're, hey, Sean, right?
Cool. All right, we have a quorum.
Nick Monday, they're, Myers is gonna be coming to do some of their, do-si-doing of the furniture and also start the library.
Excellent. That's good news. Thank you.
Order.
I want to keep this moving.
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting that we had on July 9th. Any comments or questions on the meeting, on the notes? I think they look great. I read them through earlier, Cal, so I think they look great. Anybody else have comments? All right, with that, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor of accepting the minutes? Aye. Thank you. All right. I am going to move a little bit around tonight, even though I know we want to talk about the utilization, which I'm going to let that will lead a little bit later on today, if you don't mind. I'm going to let John lead that a little bit later. I have to leave at 7:15, so there's a bunch of things I want to get out on the table here so we can get through them. There is a draft of the RFPs that just came out today. I will discuss that in a minute, but before we do that, I want to review the last couple meetings. We had a meeting with the Board of Selectmen that I gave you the briefing on at the July 9th meeting. And last night we had a meeting with the Board of Finance. Board of Finance approved the allocation of $150,000 out of the planning reserve for the RFPs on a 5-to-1 vote. There were several discussions. Anybody who wants can go online and look at the meeting, and you'll see the discussions revolved a lot around Ryerson, and the board, which was also a question that was raised by the Board of Selectmen about why are we looking at Ryerson when we're supposed to demolish it, raise it. My response to that, and I think that's, and I hope that if any of you are queried that, you get the same response. And that is that when the school, that number one, it wasn't in the vote per se, it was in the various presentations that was part of the scope of work. Number one. Number two, Academy was in full play at the time of that school vote, in that school discussion.
I'm sorry, David. What was your first comment? I apologize. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, no, my first comment was that it was not, I don't believe it was part of the actual vote motion on the referendum, but it was part of the discussions of the referendum publicly.
Okay, thank you.
The second thing was that it was at a time when the Academy was approved, Academy Community Center was fully approved and moving forward. So the expectation was that was, not going to be a needed space because Academy was going to move forward. I shared with the Board of Finance that now that Academy is not moving forward, we have vacant space, and it's worthwhile taking a step back to adhere to what to see what maybe the use of that space or that land to make a better outcome for the town. That seemed to be a very positive response from last night's meeting, I think. They also asked about whether or not there was any internal capabilities in the town to do this work, and we really felt that there are some capabilities in the town, but they are really limited, and to move this forward expeditiously, we needed to get outside help. Finally, they said, do you think it's going to save money in the long run? And what do you think what happens if we don't approve it? And I said, yes, I don't believe it would save at least the same $150,000 in the long run by having a good plan. And I said, if you don't approve it, I'm not sure what our committee's going to be. So, yeah, in general, it was well received. People were very appreciative of the work of this committee, and they gave us many accolades, which was very nice. So it was, as I said, approved at a 5-1 vote. So moving forward. With that, we have a draft of the RFP that I will send out, probably tomorrow, and I'd like people to just redline and comment. The difference is that when I drafted them, I felt that it would be good to have 3 separate RFPs, because I think the RFPs are substantively different enough that we have different types of consultants that would be part of those. The Jeffrey Ryerson versus Memorial Town Hall versus the vacant land and underutilized land. The suggestion of staff in the town is to merge them all as one RFP, let everybody come in, and then we can, if I read it correctly, I believe we can pick and choose different vendors to do different functions. So I think that's the approach. So I'm not going to take the time tonight to go through the RFP. I think that's probably appropriate, but I think it's worthwhile to send it to all of you, and then we can actually go forward and edit it and get it moving.
So is that set in stone, David, that it is going to be one RFP for one?
No, I don't believe so. That's the recommendation.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
We, as a committee, feel that it's not appropriate to be one RFP, then I think we push back, honestly. If you think it is, and if we look at it and think that it's a reasonable and a good approach, then we say, fine. All right, I'm open to hear what everybody's thought process is on that. So, and my hope is that we would end up having a number of we would get the RFP completed before the end of the month and try to get it moving forward in August is my goal, and try to get to a time frame so that we would be interviewing and hiring consultants early in the fall, so we can get moving very quickly. I'm hoping in September. So with that, we are looking at a number of potential consultants that would let know that the RFP is coming out. In particular, I want to share with you that I've been invited and have been sitting on the Surf Club Master Planning Committee, as well as the Academy Committee that's looking at a potential RFP to go out on the Academy building. The Surf Club had interviewed four firms and picked Kent and Frost as the consultant to do the master plan. I think they had a very strong presentation. I also, and they may be one of the firms that may be interested in looking at this. VNL Companies was also, I think, a strong firm that made a very good presentation. And I think they would be pretty good at the vacant land and the underutilized land parcels. within that context, Nick has forwarded to me several architects that may be useful, so we'll be looking at that list as well, and some of those architects were part of the teams that were presenting for the circle, which was good. So we had a kind of a preview of those, the ones, what was it? Not Poteet, I want to say Pelletier. Nick, do you remember that? It started with a P.
Volunteer.
It wasn't Pelletier. I couldn't remember the name of the architect you submitted, but it was one of the, they were about part of one of the firms. Anyway, Patrick. It was, so I think.
Yes.
So Patrick may be useful. Thompson, Dave Thompson in New Haven, who was part of the Roth and Moore team. Remember they moved, so he's his successor firm to Roth and Moore. So I think they would be helpful. So I think we have a good mix of at least people to talk to at the beginning. There's a gentleman I talked to as well. It's Teak firm. His name's Grigowski. What's his name? I just had it. Sorry. John Guskowski. So John knows the town because he was the interim planner for the town between Dave Anderson and Aaron Mannix. And he works for Teak Consulting. So, you know, he's familiar with the town, and I think he would be very helpful in this kind of work. And he's also come highly recommended to me by other folks. So within that context, we will share, with the RFPs, I will share lists of consultants that we think are solid and move forward. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
On your, if you go with 3 RFPs, are you still looking for awarding it to one contractor to do all 3 RFPs?
No.
Are you looking at specialties that would
Yeah,
basically
I mean,
fit
if we go with 1 RFP or 3 RFPs, I think we're gonna have multiple consultants. So the way the 1 RFP is written is that it would enable the town to pick and assign certain tasks to certain consultants. So we could, if I read it correctly, I mean, I think that was the
It was
intent.
kind of like the mini master plan.
Yeah.
Which we would start the process and then start to cherry pick our projects from there.
I'm fine with the 1 RFP as long as we know we can have consultants that we can use in particular categories. If we lost that ability, I don't think I'd be fit.
This is not uncommon. Like, for example, we'll throw out an RFP for landscaping, site work, and hardscapes.
Yeah.
And it's all one. And we will then grab 3 people that we can pick, and those people that specialize in each one of those areas.
Yeah, okay. My concern would be just, it sounded like in 1 RFP might limit us to one specialist.
Yeah.
That I think would be great.
Yeah, so we're gonna move forward. And there may be some economies of scale, honestly, by going to 1, and we may get a better pricing on this whole thing to do it that way as well. So I can see positives as well as negatives to both approaches. With that, I want to move on. At the Board of Selectmen's meeting 2 meetings ago, they approved a 5th permanent position for this committee, a 5th. So we now have 2 vacancies that we can now fill. So if anyone has suggestions or thoughts on who might be good qualified folks to be helping us, I know we can use the help, and they will just need to go through the process and apply through the online portal for the application to be on a committee and voice their interest in being part of this committee. If you can forward, I'll be happy to talk to anybody. If somebody has a suggestion, they can forward that suggestion. I'm happy to talk to the people about what we're doing and where we're going as well to help guide that. Within that same context, this is Charmaine's last meeting, and I want to thank her very much for her hard work and attention here. She's been an invaluable member of this committee. We're going to miss you.
Just when it's getting good.
So, and I'm hoping that, you
Can I
know,
call you?
when your family stuff is going, yeah, when things are getting better, please do. I mean, I'll push to get another position on the committee.
Sorry to see you go, John.
I hate to see, and it's like, fuck, it's all coming
It
together
is.
now, and it's like,
It
eh.
Yeah.
But,
But I do
I
feel
will
like we're
miss
starting,
working with all of you too. You've all been great to work with.
so,
Peter, you're just awesome.
Thank you.
and so
I
I
miss our visits at the facility. though.
I might just pop in anyways and
You can come in anytime.
So I do think we need to work on the utilization issues for Memorial Town Hall in particular, as well as the amount of space that's currently required for those functions, if in fact Memorial Town Hall would be readapted back to its original form. So we'd have to, the archives are there, as well as the probate court, as well as meeting rooms. So within that context, I've been sitting in on this discussion on Academy. And I'm not sure if that's a formal committee or if it's an ad hoc, I guess it's more of a,
I think it was just the RFP committee.
yeah, the RFP. So the Board of Selectmen wanted to look again at if there was any third-party interest, you know, that would be interested in developing the Academy building. The goal would be under some sort of a land lease that would allow the building with maybe a small sale of the cost, and that the developer would then develop it for purposes that are currently unknown, but they range all the way from, you know, affordable housing to condominiums to theaters to a lot of different things. The pace of that, I think, is important. They are talking about getting the RFP out in the fall, in September. Awarding it sometime in November, if it makes sense, and then moving it forward after January. That's kind of the general order of magnitude. My concern as we're dealing with this is that I really hope that our RFPs will move forward much more expeditiously than that, because we may be influencing how that space could be used. And, you know, for example, I'm just going to throw out hypothetical here. We know that Youth and Family Services needs more space and needs to be moved. We know that if Memorial Town Hall actually can be restored back to a theater, we need to find a space for
Probate.
probate.
Mhm.
And the probate court is, as well as the historical archives,
Yeah.
need to have pretty visible space. It would seem to me that the front of Academy and the library part there would be a wonderful probate court, as well as a potential wonderful meeting space for the town, as well as a potential to put bathrooms and things of that nature. And if Memorial Town Hall is feasible to be some sort of a theater, maybe an amphitheater off the back of Academy complements those two things to bring something really quite dynamic to the downtown area. So I'm hopeful that at least the Memorial Town Hall piece will move very, very quickly, so we would have some order of magnitude sense of whether that's feasible or not to move forward with that kind of renovation, because there's a lot of dominoes seem to move off of that piece, to me, at least. I'll open it up for any other comments, but, and, you know, if we think Youth and Family Services, that probably should go to Jeffrey. And the archives, it would seem to me that one of the options would be for the, just putting a hypothesis out that the Board of Ed move to Jeffrey and the archives, historical archives would move to this building and have a much more visible space in town. So, and then the core question would be whether the Chamber of Commerce would stay in the same spot or not. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of types of things that are options. I do have, Peter has forwarded, Raquel has forwarded to me the plans for Jeffrey and Ryerson, so I was looking at those, so, we got stuff we can start working on and start hypothesizing for, because I think we will need to share with whoever the successful consultants are some of the directions that we're thinking, but be open to listen to their ideas. And that was one of the things that I mentioned last night at the Board of Finance meeting, is that we really need to, listen to somebody with fresh eyes, because oftentimes those ideas are far stronger.
Just one thing I wanted to bring up with, there's a property line issue at Jeffrey between our neighbor to the southeast and Jeffries. What has happened is this came about, I just wanted to have you guys know this so that we can plan for this.
Isn't it Dollar Farm is the southeast?
No, there's Laura Davis that lives there.
Oh.
And she has the daycare center.
Daycare center
Yes.
there.
So what had happened is, as a result of a tree that needed to be taken down, there was a question whether it was town property or her property. All the markers that define the property line are gone on one spot. So the suggestion was made, and she's agreeable to this, that we, the town, will discuss with her and come up with the best place for the property line as we thought it was. So I just want to say that's in the works right now, so there's something like that that we need to kind of work out. But it's only one section of the property, and all the other markers are found, but there's one part here that it could be 1 or 2 feet, otherwise we couldn't find it. Just want to have you be aware of that.
We'll also obviously look at the Sage property as part of this, the Jeffrey component. And as part of the vacant land component, we are adding a parcel up near the Pines. I think it's up near the Pines. That was suggested by the Affordable Housing Committee. They had like 5 or 7 acres up there, I think it was.
Country Road,
I'm sorry?
up the Country Road location? County Road.
I don't remember where it was. I have to go back and look at my notes, and I'll be happy to share that. So we're going to add that to the parcels that we put in before, that were part of our interim report. So that's going to be an addition to the parcels that were in our interim report, to let us know. So that would be part of the vacant underutilized land parcels that we look at. So, and I communicated to the Affordable Housing Committee. They asked me what the status was, where our work was, and I told them we were waiting on approval from the Board of Finance. Now that we have approval, I'll be happy to share that with them, that now we're going to generate the RFP that can actually start looking at that, because obviously the affordable workforce housing is targeted at 2 or 3 of the parcels that we were looking at before, maybe more than that. Are there any comments or questions regarding the RFPs? I've been taking up a lot of time here only because I've been going to so many freaking meetings.
Got one question about Academy. If they're already getting RFPs ready, or an RFP, and they're gonna move all that fast, where into that is a referendum thing? You and I talked about that a little this morning. I don't know.
It's an interesting question. It sounded,
Can they do it as fast as they think they can, I guess?
well, it sounded to me that whatever is approved would have to go to some sort of a town, either a town meeting or a referendum.
Right. Which makes sense.
Which would make sense. one of the questions I would raise, and I haven't yet, but I will, is that I thought it was pretty clear that in the various conversations and presentations that were made earlier, that because there were a lot of developers that wanted to put condominiums and affordable housing and things of that nature, those were all proposals.
Right.
Those were all rejected by the community. So it's kind of interesting that we're kind of going back to that conversation again. You know, my general sense is that the vote was either go or no go on Academy, and it was basically a, should we go forward or should we demolish it? Even though it wasn't written that way, I think many people interpret it that way. But I'm not the only one that.
Completely.
So what are your options if you, it's
Right.
either demolish or
Well, I think
somebody goes in?
that's a good question, because part of my comments were that, you know, for any developer, you need to disclose the issues at Academy that have to be overcome. So you get the hazardous materials, the septic issues, the roofing, the window, all the various kinds of things. And, you know, we have a lot of that information. It's not necessarily costed as a independent projects, but we definitely have a number of studies that said this is what is issues with the building. And it seems to me that if you're looking for a third party to develop the space, they would want to know that and be very forward with that. So
When you say space, David, do you mean just the building, or do you mean could be the building that gets developed or renovated, or it's the building gets knocked down and the site gets developed, one or the other?
yes, it could be either one. They're saying that the playgrounds and the ball fields would not be included as part of this. Although
It's just a footprint.
Makes it a little unattractive.
but then there's a big question of where do you park, and there's a lot of questions in my mind, at least how that works. But nonetheless, I'm sitting on that committee and I'm listening more than commenting at the
Lucky
moment.
you.
Like I said, the surf club is moving forward. Virtually all four of the finalists that presented were talking about doing something with the building, the actual surf club building, either raising the building significantly or moving it back north towards the tennis court or towards the basketball courts and towards the parking lot. Cascading effect of that building being, and the reason was that most of the, I think almost every one of the consultants were talking about removing the concrete barrier on the beach in order to create greater access.
Was it more beach or?
Well, they wanted to create a space to allow the beach to come and go more readily. And actually the Kenton Frost folks, I think maybe probably one of the strongest points that was this renovation for Garvin's Point is actually going to expand the amount of beach by the way the water moves, and the sands move. So the idea is to move to at least the concept that has been set forth, and I think they're a long way from any definitive answer on this. But the point is that you would end up having the beach be a much more longer and gradual kind of space that would lead to the surf club building that would probably be further north of the existing water. That being the case, that means the parking lot leaves, that means grounds move. And there are also a lot of discussions were to how do you create another access to the to Route 1 so that you'd have an access off of Surf Club Road as well as Route 1 to the built space. All that is influencing what we do, because obviously when you start talking about DPW and expansion of DPW, you're really talking about integrating grounds function and DPW
Which-
functions.
Which
that
is
make a
on
lot
my
of sense.
list
Yeah,
that I wanted to,
so those were the various meetings that were happening and a very, very brief synopsis of the kinds of ideas that were out there. I think Raquel, as you deal with those minutes on this, I think you just have to say I gave a synopsis of what happened at these various meetings. It's pretty hard to quote me on all the specific details, because there was a lot going on there. So questions or comments on that?
just before you leave, and I leave, I thought I'd take this opportunity to sort of express where my concerns are. Having done all of the work. I wish I could have done more, so sorry about that. But the more I dig, what resonates to me in the more immediate future of where are needs that are time sensitive right now. And I see it as DPW, I see it as youth and family services, and possibly in the long run, but it's getting shorter, affordable housing. And I just hate to see that sort of priority get lost with all the RFPs and all the discussions, because these people can't wait much longer. Particularly DPW, I will say, physical manifestation of where they are at right now. I cannot foresee them hanging in there much longer because of the condition of their salt faults and whatever they call them. And also the extraordinarily amount of expensive equipment they have that right now they're like sardines under one roof. And youth and family services have been waiting a long time, and they are in dire straits. So I just hope that at least those three properties, there's a sensitivity or an awareness as you go forward with the RFPs and they come back with whatever their assessments are. The other thing that concerns me, just because of an experience, is that when you do the RFPs and people respond, when they go out to these buildings, that they truly understand the conditions of the buildings. What kind of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, how are they structured? Because you hate to have them come back with all these great assessments and then they go, oh, I didn't know that they had this type of system, or which could totally blow out their assessments or put an extraordinarily more amount of money into making something happen. So I just hope that they become as intimate with the buildings as we're trying to become as they do their assessments and look at them, so they know what they're actually dealing with.
Well, we'll have to absolutely provide, all the various mechanical drawings. All those things are available, obviously. I've seen many of them. Got the DRA report, got the school capital reports. So all that will be shared as part of the RFP as well. I think an important part of this vacant or underutilized land parcels is how does DPW land? And should it stay where it is, or should it go to Ridge Road, or should it go to Ryerson, or should it go to the town campus where the learning center was? Well, those seem to be the four options that are available that have to be evaluated. And I think we have to communicate that.
When they're looking at the surf club, are they also looking at the surf club garage?
You're talking about where the grounds are.
Grounds are.
Sure. Well, I think that's going to be displaced. That's the way I'm
Well,
looking
it's
at it.
all nice, expensive real estate for
Yeah, it's a lot of it.
equipment to be sitting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I mean, it just seems that Jeffrey is the logical location for youth and family services. And that's something that can
As a
happen.
whole, you would like totally. look
Yeah,
at it
you
as
could
pick up
actually,
everybody and take them over there.
yeah, I mean, and that could move them in a relatively short order.
It's administrative, so it's not.
Right. I mean, that's not a difficult move, I would think, and it could solve a lot of
And then
issues.
you have to use some family services building that they vacate.
Right, and that was, but it was one of the comments from one of the selectmen was the one selectman who voted against the RFP was concerned about looking at Memorial Town Hall and bringing it back to renovation. He felt that Youth and Family Services should. You know, I think it's kind of tough when you look at the building and whether that can happen. You know, so, I mean, there are many people with many opinions, and I think we have to embrace the opinions, but then we have to try to provide direction to these consultants in order to drive a solution. And my sense is that this plan has to come together in short order. I mean, in the next 6 to 7 months, we have to be coming forward publicly and saying, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
And the support of that as a master planning effort at both the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance was very high. Sure, that. So I do think that that's really our objective, and the pace at which we have to move. I think in general, the town is really concerned that there is no overarching strategic plan that's guiding the facilities plan, and that there's a lot of vacant space, and we're not quite sure what to do with it. So I think that's really how do we embrace that concern and turn it into a asset? Is the important question in my mind. Any other questions? All right. I'm going to open up since I'm here. Raquel, are there any public comments? I'm going to open it up for public comment if there's any.
No, there's no one online.
Well, within that, then I am going to hand the chair over to John and allow the conversation on the utilization, because I think the utilization is really important. Utilization information is really only going to affect Memorial Town Hall and those two ancillary buildings next to it. And I think we have to be able to communicate to within the RFP, how often the space is used. You know, like the meeting rooms, how often are the meeting rooms used? How often are they rented? Those kinds of things. And so, you know, Charmaine, you have the most experience on that. And so if you
We have all the
with
information.
Nick, if you can then communicate, so John.
Well, I
can be
sent
part of that.
them all the information. If they have any questions on it, format, I'm sorry, was not the most beautiful. But Austin Hall
Right.
was extremely helpful in the information for the Surf Club and Memorial Hall, the Senior Center.
Senior Center.
Close the meeting, it would go down below a form at this point. or-
Oh, right. So it's not below quorum. All right.
I mean, there'd be conversation, but I mean,
So
Raquel,
what
can we
I-
close it out?
What I will do is I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there are no further questions. And then we'll move to discussion since we're going to lose quorum when I leave. Nobody wants to adjourn this thing. huh?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Sorry, guys, but feel free to continue the conversation as a discussion and move it forward from there.